I'm live. The first time I've actually set this up. How do I zoom out on this thing? That's a good enough view, right? Hopefully my phone won't fall off. Oh, extra tape will help. Okay, is my stream going? It says it's going. How come I don't see it? Because I'm in the stream manager. Okay. I'm looking at the stream on my iPad. And how do I get back to that? My channel. Okay, it shows I'm live. Okay. How do I get to my own chat though? Oh, I click on chat. Okay, no one's chatted yet. I'm securing my phone to a very weird rig here that I made. Totally professional. I'm gonna attempt to do some soldering today, and I hope people can hear me. I see that there's a 1 on my phone. Does that mean one person's watching? Probably me. I have no idea if the audio is working. Okay, so maybe I'll wait for a little bit and see. Can anyone in chat actually hear me? And we'll see. See, not hear me, I mean hear. Here. Thank you, autocorrect. Okay, anyway, I don't know if this is working or not. If it's not working, I'm sure someone in chat will tell me that they can't hear a thing, and then what the heck is this? So I got my keyboard here, the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I think I'm going to start with the right-hand side, so I'm going to take the left and kind of put it off to the side. Actually, that's the wrong one. With the right-hand side. This one. Okay, so my goal today is to install 3 of these. So these are NeoPixels. They're the 50/50 ones, the underglow. So they're 5 by 5 millimeter. And you'll see in a little bit where they actually have to be installed. And if if the stream is going well, then I'll continue with these even smaller LEDs. These are the per key LEDs. I've pulled it right under the camera. You can see them. Yeah, there we go. That's a good shot of them. See how they have 4 pins? And these ones are have leads that are like sticking out. Those are going to be slightly easier to solder, I think. Well, but they're smaller. These other ones don't have leads out of them, but you have to like put solder under or to the side of them. You'll see in a little bit. So, yeah. Oh, I have 4 people watching me, I think. All right. Audio check. Not union. Hold on. I'm typing on my iPad right next to here. Audio check. Can you hear me chat? Question mark. All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So I'll just continue as if you can hear me. So I could either I have to get at this. So I have to take off 4 screws. So at the minimum I got to pop some keys off, but I might want to just pop them all off. They're easy enough. Just pop 3 of these guys off, and we're gonna get access to this screw. I'll try not to cover the camera. Actually, I don't really need this light too much. So you guys can see that screw that I'm unscrewing. Just take that one right off. I don't see anyone in chat, so maybe no one can hear me. Maybe no one's watching, I don't know. I have never streamed before where I didn't have my camera on me or sitting in front of my computer. I used to stream without a camera, but I at least was sitting in front of my computer. This is completely new to me. So we'll see how this goes. I don't see anyone in chat yet, and there are 3 people watching. That means someone didn't really care about for what I was doing and they just left. That makes me sad, but not too much. I'll be okay. I'm basically just pulling off the switches that are near these screws I need to get access to. You can see the keys are actually quite easy to pop off. And then I'm removing the 4 screws that hold this thing together. I'll try to do it without in a way that doesn't block the camera. Maybe I stand over here to remind myself that the camera is right to my right and not to block it. Nope. No one answered me. So either no one's in chat and they can't hear me, or something else is going on. I'm blocking the camera again. Sorry about that. Oop. I wonder if I can get one of my kids to like pop into my channel really quick and have them verify the audio is working. All right. So those 4 screws popped off. Now I can easily lift this up and show you the circuit board underneath. So we could put the keys back on, perhaps. Set that off to the side. Or we just keep them on, and that's kind of like a nice little thing that this rests on while we're soldering. I think I might do that. So like the keys are kind of a nice cushion that we can work with. Okay, 3 people in chat. Maybe no one can hear me. So I will, I don't know, see if I can hear myself on my iPad. I have to, what, go to my own channel? Or what? What if I tap on my phone? Okay. Okay, let me hit the mute. And then I hit the unmute. So it shouldn't be muted. It's just no one's saying anything in chat, so I don't know. Going back to my channel and the chat. Okay. Don't know what to say. I can't hear myself. So it might be working, it might not be, who knows. Okay, I'm gonna just write don't know if audio is working. It is working. Anyone in chat confirm? Hi everyone. Oh, sound is okay? Oh, great. Thank you, Nig Vorsa. Okay, so I haven't gotten started yet other than I've taken my keyboard apart. So I don't remember, Nig Vorsa, if you were in the chat before, but here's the other half of the keyboard. So I just took 4 screws off, these 4 screws off, and some of the switches out. Well, they're off screen here. I'll put some on so you can see what they look like. Enough so that I can get at those screws. And my goal tonight, you see this guy right here? I need to install 3 more. 1 here, 1 over here, and 1 over here. And they look like this. So I'm going to take these out of the bag, 3 of them, and carefully solder them to the board here. All right. So they come in this little strip. If you get a whole bunch of them, like 100, they'd be in a tape reel, right? But this is like a cut section of the tape reel. So very carefully, without blocking the camera, I'm going to just take 1 out. So 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters. So fits on the tip of my finger. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to zoom on my finger, am I? Nah. Well, that's pretty good right there, right? So if I turn it around carefully, you'll see that, perhaps you'll see, or maybe not, maybe I can catch the light there. There are 4 little metal pads on it. So those 4 metal pads have to rest on these solder pads. So if I bring it that close to the, there you go. So kind of like, yeah, whoop, upside down. Kind of like that, right? But the problem is that they don't have any lead sticking out, so I have to, while holding it roughly there, I'm going to try to put little solder blobs on the sides. I don't know how visible that is with the camera, but this is as good as I can do. Maybe you can zoom in and see what I'm doing. So I have a hot soldering iron here, 360 degrees. And before I actually solder it, I have to double check that on here, one of these corners is clipped. You can see it's the, I think if this is oriented right, it's the bottom right. It's kind of hard to see with the focus, but yeah, for me it's the bottom right. I can see it through the magnifying glass. I have to make sure that that is aligned with the mark that I have on the board. So, can I do that? Yeah, I have a little magnifying glass, see? Now, if I let you guys do that, I wouldn't be able to see very well. Actually, yeah, I can do that. Now we're both looking through the magnifying glass. So my goal is to like have it sit right there and very, very carefully deposit some solder on all four sides while this is lined up. This is the difficult part. So here we go. What angle do I approach it? If I turn it like this, it's a little bit easier for me. Okay, here goes nothing. So I'm going to heat the pad up and then very, very carefully, without touching the NeoPixel, just get some solder on that. Okay, cool. So I think it's stuck. Great. And then quickly before I lose it, I'm going to get the opposite corner. All right. So put the solder tip on the pad, and so it's heating up the pad, and then I get some solder on it, and then I just kind of make sure it sticks to both the pad and the pin at the same time. And again, next to it. Okay, it's on this tip of the soldering iron. Oh, there we go. So I got it on the pad and on the pin, sort of on a corner, or in that corner, right? So again here, I actually did that right away. Okay, cool. So that's one. All right, so now we have one installed right there, and then that's the one I already had installed before. If I had three hands, this would be easier. So this is the one I had installed before, right? And this is the one I just installed. So I need to put another one there and another one down here. So let's move on. Get that tape, pull out another LED. All right. So again, I'm looking for which corner has a little notch in it, and I'm lining that up with this little white mark. If you look, that one right there has a little white end to it on the silk screen, little white mark. So I'm making sure that corner, so that marks the ground pin. And as long as I don't have it upside down, I really just have to make sure that pin and that pad are aligned. Okay, so I do a reasonably okay job centering it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the soldering iron out. Okay, here's where I gotta be very careful. All right, let's do that ground pin first. Can everybody see? No. Where is the tip? Over there. Okay. Are we? Yeah, that's what we're looking at, right? Okay. That's probably the best camera shot I can get with my low budget setup. So if it's not really showing up too well, I'm sorry. I did my best. Okay, the blob is on the soldering tip, just lightly touching it to the pad. Ever so lightly. Okay, let's melt it. I want to make sure it's actually sticking to the side of the LED, and it is, I think. I'll turn it around. Okay, good. I have enough clearance on this side to do the other corner. So again, I'm just melting some solder, or if you're in England, it's solder, and like just getting it in there. That's good. And then the one next to it. Actually, I already have enough solder on the pin. Not sure if that's enough, so I'll melt a little bit more. There we go. Try not to breathe the fumes. Okay, and then the final corner here. Oh, okay. So that's 3 out of 4. Okay. Hey there, robotic head. I hope you can hear me. I am soldering LEDs, these guys, onto the back of my keyboard. So these are underglow LEDs. So right here where the tip of the soldering iron goes is those 4 pads. That's where another one of these needs to go. Alright. I thought this would make this would complete the experience, because you see me working on the 3D modeling and you see me do the circuit board design and the software. So this kind of completes it to show you the soldering, or soldering if you prefer, that I have to do. That must lighten your day. Yeah, hey, wait a minute, you're not Mr. Balrog. What are you doing making jokes? I thought he cornered the market on jokes. Okay, so again, just to give you a sense of scale, that's how big it is. It's on my index finger. So it's 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters. You know what I'm really worried about? So even if I do the perfect job here, do you see the thing next to it right here? That's another thing I have to solder right next to the one I'm doing now. And there's really not a whole lot of clearance. So again, I'm aligning the pad that has a little white mark here with the, it's hard to see at the camera, but there's a notch on the side of the LED. That marks the ground pin. All right. And touch it lightly, get it over to there. Maybe a little bit there. Okay. And then very carefully heat the pad and kind of melt some, oh, I moved it. Let's tap it back ever so carefully. Okay, now it's not lined up. I do like a third hand or someone to stand here and to hold the thing down while I do this. Okay. So goal is to get some solder in there, and it kind of sticks to the edge of the pin, which holds the thing in place. And whoop, okay, that obviously wasn't holding it in place because it popped right off. So I'm gonna put it that way. Actually, now that there's some solder on the pin, I can do this trick where I just hold it there and melt the solder underneath it and then release my finger without burning my finger. That's the tricky part. It's tricky not to burn yourself doing this. Okay, it's getting hot, it's getting hot. Oh, okay, I did it. Dad jokes to stay under the belt even when they get gassy. You do have dad jokes and puns under your belt, I see. So extending pad footprint was helpful? Yeah, it was. Very helpful. So Adam told me he had the worst time with these LEDs because he didn't extend the size of the pad. So just to bring that closer to the camera, see that nice extra pad distance I have to put the solder blob? So I already got that corner there. It's very, very nice that I did that. If I didn't do that, this would be a real problem. Probably I'd have to do what I just did and just burn the edge of the LED. I mean, it's plastic, it'll survive. But it would have been not ideal. Okay, so I'm heating this corner, carefully melting some solder onto the pad. I really want to make sure it's actually making contact to the little saddle, or what do you call it, the little edge of the LED that's metal. And then we're right here anyway, so let's just do the next one next to it. I don't know how well this looks on the stream. I'll have to look at the VOD later. I mean, hopefully this is interesting. There are 7 people watching. Okay, it might not be the most interesting content, or it could be that I haven't streamed for very long. Maybe more people will arrive later. Okay, cool. So I got a nice amount of solder there. Cool. So I'm done with the underglow LEDs. Now I could go back in the other room and plug this in and make sure it works. Or I can move on to the other kinds of LEDs that I have. Let's clean the edge of this solder, or this soldering iron off. Okay. I'm going to take a look through this. I think it looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect again. If any of them malfunction, I can go maybe fix them later. Okay, I'm just going to assume that's good, and we're going to move on to the per key LEDs. So this is going to be the real time-consuming one because I have 15 of them to do. Because there's one per key, and then that's just one half of the keyboard. All right. You know what? It's really weird to be streaming and not have a camera on me. So these are the per key LEDs. Get good lighting on that. So as you can see in the blurry camera there are 4 leads on it, on each one. And like here's one right here. There's a good example right there. So it sticks through the board and shines. As I'm holding it right now, it's going to shine down towards the table. Right, because the idea is that you want it to shine up through the key, right? If you want to light up the key. So I have one already installed. This one right here. See that? So that's on there so that and you might have seen it on stream earlier. It's kind of, yeah, you can see it's shining through the board there. And I was lighting it up red on stream earlier. It is a big challenge, but one thing that kind of helps is that these holes, I can kind of lay the LED in the hole and I'm going to hold it down with my thumb, try not to burn it, and melt the solder that's underneath it. So little trick, since we're going to melt through a pad, is I'm going to put little dots of solder. Let's do 20 because it's right after 21. So 19 is installed, right? So 20 is the next one in the daisy chain, and it's not installed. So I'm going to do, just very carefully, put some solder on each of these pads. There's 1, 2, 3, that's enough. A little bit more. 4. Okay. So there's a little tiny blob of solder on each of these 4 pins, right? Okay. Carefully open up the tape. Take an LED out. So these are so tiny. Here's what it looks like. All right. Catch the light. You can see it's got the 4 pins. So it's got the same kind of notch to mark the ground pin. It's easier for me to see through the magnifying glass. Oop, I dropped it. Yeah, so that one on the bottom right for me is the ground pin. And I need to install that facing bottom left, I believe. So drop it in just like that. Gotta turn it. Okay. Bring in the tools. Needle nose pliers. Here we come. So I'm going to carefully align this again. Okay, yeah, this is going to be kind of challenging. I don't think I'm going to do 15 of these tonight. I'll be lucky if I get like 2 or 3 of these actually. Okay, I don't want to grab the whole thing because that wasn't really working out. I'm just going to try to nudge it in place. Okay, this is tough because those solder balls are like tripping up the sides of it. Okay, there we go. So if I can like hold it down without moving it. Whew, sweating already. Okay, the soldering iron out. Okay, so ever so carefully hold that down. Now I'm going to just use a little bit of force to melt that in place. I'm waiting for it to melt underneath that. I don't know if it did. I can't tell. Okay, I'm assuming that it did, because no, it's not. Do the one next to it, maybe. Okay, I think that one did stick. So, oh, slipped. Okay. Okay, at least one of them melted because it's stuck. So that's good enough for me. Do the other side here. So if I did this right, I can just hold this side down and then like press. Okay, I saw it melt that way that time. You kind of see like a little like bit of solder ooze out the side, and then you know you got it. Hopefully that melted. Alright, let me inspect it. Okay, I think that did pretty well. So it's sitting under this key. Let's take that key out. Alright, so there it is. Right there. Fine enough for me. So the true test would be when I plug this in and I modify the software to light both of these guys up. And if he actually lights up correctly, then that'll be good. Alright. No flux. I don't think I need to use flux on this because I don't need flow. I just need it to melt. Where I would need flux is if I were to do this again. So this one was a real pain in the ass. It's even hard to focus on it, but maybe I have it catch the light. There are like 20 pins or so right there, maybe 18 or 16. And they're really, really close together. So I had to use the flux core of the solder. And I even tried to use this bottle of flux that I have. And I still got solder ridges, and then I had to end up using this copper braid to suck up the solder ridges. You haven't even used a magnifying glass in decades? I have to use it because I'm older and my eyes don't work as well. Yeah, this I actually don't think it's very good. This Chip Quick, it ended up just kind of boiling away and making a mess. Is there a tool that uses hot air to melt the solder? I guess I have one of those, but like this solder, this hot air gun. But I don't know how well it will do. It'll probably melt everything and make a big mess, so I don't really want to try it. All right, I'm gonna take a quick break and take a drink for a second to celebrate my getting this LED in place. And then we're going to move on to number 21, right? So it's right next to it. Okay, chat, what do you think? Is this a good stream, or am I messing up in some way? Like, do I need a better magnifying glass, better camera angle? I'll have to post the really like janky setup I have to hold the phone where it is. Oh, what am I doing? I don't want to take the soldering iron out yet. If I had a better camera setup, I could show you more than just the board and what I'm doing on it. Okay, so taking out another LED. Here it is. Alright, I just dropped it on the board, that's fine. Okay, I'm looking for, there it is, the ground pin. That needs to be oriented facing on the bottom left. The top right is the power pin, and I see that's going to the correct place. Okay, so, oh, right, I'm supposed to put little solder blobs on it first. Because the idea is pad is on the bottom, then little solder blob, then pin, and I melt through this, I heat the pin on top, and it melts the solder underneath, and it kind of glues it in place. So actually the best thing to do, just to melt a little bit of solder on the iron and then just kind of tap the pad. Get some solder to stick there, like that. Yeah, perfect. So I got both of those. You know, having hands that don't shake is also kind of a prerequisite to do this. Okay, I got maybe too much solder on that side. But it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, shining down. I should just use this tool to get it roughly in position. Okay, that's roughly in position. not. Maybe not. You know, having small hands helps in this kind of work too. Where did it go? It dropped through the board. Okay. Yeah, this is hard. Not very good at grabbing tiny parts and putting them where they need to go. But you think the audio could be louder? I'm talking pretty loud. I'm right next to the camera. Hello. So USB-C is not a good choice for someone with poor soldering skill. I mean, you could just what you could do for this guy is just lay out a whole bridge of solder all the way across. Just make the solder bridges, right? And then melt it all, and some of the solder, as long as some of the solder goes into the hole, then you just suck up the rest with the copper braid. So I would say you could still do it. It's just, if you have flux and you use the copper braid and you suck up all the excess solder, it'll look kind of gross, like mine looks kind of gross, but it will still work. Try HDMI if you want to hate yourself. No, thank you. Okay. Ooh, I did it in the first try that time. Oh, but it's upside down. We want the light to go down, not up. Yeah, so like that is the direction we want it to go. Okay, the problem is I had too much solder on that thing, on some of those pads. Don't go through the hole. All sorts of jokes you could make about that statement. But we're doing serious business. We're not making jokes, right? Okay, so I'm going to hold this down. This is the part where you do not burn yourself. I know it's very tempting to want to do it, but no, you don't want to. Oh, that went down right away. Did that actually melt or did it just bend? I think that did melt. Okay, cool. Well, that was easier. I felt the heat on that side. Okay, and then this is tricky. I got to push down on this pin here. Okay, and this side. Actually, that wasn't too bad. Okay. That worked. Well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Okay, so talking it up makes it work better. How many of these things do I want to do and then give up? You've never soldered? It takes really, really fine, careful, non-shaking hand and practice. You know what you want to do when you first solder is solder parts like, I can't show it very easily, but you see this row of pins? That's the easiest to solder because there's a lot of space between them. You could put extra solder in there and it's fine. The next easiest, I think, would be these diodes because you just poke them through, and it's kind of hard to see because I have this plate in the way. But just imagine that these are wires that poke through, and on the other side you just put solder between the wires and the holes, and then you clip the ends of the wires, and you're done. Okay, so I have a lot more to do, but I don't really feel like doing all of them. How many do I want to do tonight before I give up? Actual footage of your hands not shaking. Did you design this board? Yes, I did. So I actually designed this circuit board on stream. I don't remember which stream number it is, but when I make the highlight video for YouTube, I'll definitely show parts of that because that was really fun. Because you get to like kind of draw lines and that end up being actual cuts for the board, so you're actually making something in the real world, which is something that programmers don't get to do a lot of the time. Usually we're making things in software and that they don't really manifest in the real world. But like 3D design and circuit board design, you're actually making something you're gonna manufacture, which is really cool. All right, I'm gonna very carefully melt some solder on the tip here, and then kind of tap these pads. I think I got it, but it's hard to see. Okay, definitely Got that one. Yeah, I got that one. Okay, next to just ended up with a ball there. Let's try again. It's not sticking to the soldering iron. Okay, what if I put it next? Oh, actually, I do have some on the iron. Oh, a little bit too much. A little bit too much. Let's use the copper braid to suck that one up. Where did I put it? I was showing chat and then oh, here it is. Okay, so we're just going to suck that little bit out of there. Too much solder, suck it up. Actually, here's where I do want to use the flux. All right. Apply flux. Okay, now take solder, now take copper braid. Oh, that end is dirty. That might be why it didn't work. Okay, so here's where it's going to sizzle. Sizzling means it's working, right? And then we're sucking the solder off of there. I put entirely too much solder in that. That's a big mess. Okay, there. It flowed right back onto the pad. There, and I grabbed it right off the pad. Okay, cool. So then I'm going to put a deposit on the pad next to it. There we go. Cool, that worked. So what flux does is it prevents oxidation, and maybe you saw what happened on the camera, or maybe I didn't have the camera pointed right, but it kind of made all the solder kind of collect together on a little ball on the end there. You start following the stream because you want to build a keyboard too. Flux helps with excess solder transfer. Yes, they've never seen room temperature flux in that state. Oh, this is liquid flux. Different kinds of flux, right? Prefer writing complex animation for 40 LEDs than soldering even one? Yeah, well, this is going to help me appreciate these LEDs, right? That all the work to get them attached to the board is going to make me appreciate them actually working. Whenever I use my keyboard, I'll remember all of that really careful work I had to do to attach these tiny little parts onto it, and then it'll make it a lot sweeter, right? Okay. So it is to be oriented this way. Just drop it on place. Hope I get it aligned right. Nudge it over. Okay. Almost. Almost. Move over a little bit. There we go. Okay. So, how does this look? Hopefully you guys can see. So I'm kind of holding it down with the edge of my thumb, trying really hard not to burn myself. And I'm going to press down on this pad. Okay, it melted, and the same thing with the one next to it. That melted. Okay, good. Turn it around to the other side. Just pressing down until it melts it. And same thing with the other one next to it. There, that definitely melted. I don't know if this one actually did or not. There, it did. Okay, so you can see, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. This one's a little misaligned. I don't know if you can really see that in the light, maybe. It's a little misaligned, but it's good enough. The really bad thing is if I accidentally put one in backwards. Then I would start to cry, I think. Okay, you know, I'm kind of thinking that, how long have I been going? I don't even know how long the stream has been. I don't want to do this all night. Is that enough? And then maybe do the other board and then reassemble it and then go back on stream and then do some software for this to confirm that it's working, maybe? I think that's a good plan. I will have to stop the stream in order to start it again on the computer, but that should be fine. Okay, so Let's reinstall the keys. Pop the keys back in. No, wait. I want to put it on its base first. Yes. And it's got to be lined up right there. Okay. Screws go back in. I'll just do the rest of the... I'll probably do like 4 or 5 of these a night until I'm done. So there are 4 screws that hold this whole thing, this whole contraption together. I'm just putting them in and screwing them right now. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. Okay, and then one up here. Let's turn on the light so you can see. They don't need to be super tight. In fact, oh, I dropped it. Good thing I saw where it went. In fact, I want them to be loose. If I do it too tight, I might break the glue that's holding the inserts on the other side together. So, like that. Okay, so now that just kind of holds it all together. Now I can, like, at my leisure install the switches again. So they just kind of pop right in. I don't want to use a lot of force because the pins can actually bend. So just kind of like wiggling it around until it goes in, like that. Oh, some of these I installed little plastic dots on them. I'm gonna find those ones. Where's the one with the plastic dot? This one. So that goes in here. The plastic dots are like how I feel around for where the home keys are. Okay, so I installed 3 underglow LEDs and 3 key LEDs on this guy. I think before I leave the garage and start streaming on the computer again, I want to go, oh, those are the wrong ones. Pop those out. The thumb ones are facing the other direction. Those are not the thumb ones. I want to do the other side of the keyboard underglows, I think. Those are not too hard. Where are the thumb ones? Aha, here's the thumb. I have the keycaps on backwards for the thumbs because it just makes more sense feel-wise, and also the Korn keyboard did that. I stole a lot of ideas from that Korn keyboard. Alright, there we go, keyboard fully assembled. How much chat did I miss? Are the streams also on YouTube? Yep, they are. So my bot is running in the other room, so this should work, right? If I do Shift YOUTUBE, enter, there's a link to my to the YouTube. I have it all in a playlist. Can't make out the pads and stuff. I'm sorry. Are those printed keycaps? No, these keycaps are just generic, like plain ones, the cheap ones. This lifted most of the fear of soldering? Well, you have to try it yourself. Try it with something easier than this. When it's time you really start to build your own keyboards, like building diodes, etching 1mm line with integrated circuits, mining your own geranium. I think this is probably the limit to how much soldering I want to do. But yeah, I do want to do the other side of the keyboard, so let's do that. I don't know if I want to do the per key ones on this, but I at least want to do the underglow ones. So we'll just take off enough of these keycaps, and let me put the thumb ones off in a different spot so I don't have to search for them again. That's smart, right? I want to at least do the underglow LEDs on this side. So I'm pulling off the switches around the 4 screws that I have. Unfortunately, I end up pulling off more than half, but that's okay. I pull off all but 6, right? Just to get at the screws. First soldering experience was modding Xboxes and PlayStations. So, if it's like larger things, like big capacitors, those aren't so scary. The hardest part when you first start learning to solder is to do it without burning yourself. It's surprisingly easy to accidentally, like, when you're not paying attention to, you know, move your hand on the soldering iron and touch a hot part, and it's like, ow, shit. Surprisingly easy to do. Okay, there we go. This screw is like being difficult for me. It's also kind of important to have a nice soldering iron that is temperature controlled. So I have one of those, and I can move the box to show you. So set to 360 degrees Celsius. Now where was the box exactly? Right around here? Okay. If you get a cheap soldering iron that's not temperature controlled, you really don't know how hot it is. And the temperature kind of controls like how much time you have when you're applying heat before you start, well, number one, the solder starts melting, and then when you start damaging things around it. If it's too hot, you have to be really fast. If it's too cold, then you have to be very patient. Pumping oil for polyethylene plastics is an easy part. 128 pin components, that's a lot of pins. Hopefully there are big pins. Attached to be a 32 AUG wires. That's small, isn't that? That sounds difficult. Okay, turning this over, we see that absolutely none of the LEDs are installed. So I'm going to do all 4 of the underglow ones. So there, and there. The 4 groups of the big pads. If I bring it closer to the camera, it's these ones that are groups of 4 that are big, and these smaller groups of 4 are the per key LEDs. So this is the underglow LED. I'm going to do that, and it's 3 neighbors. Okay. Let me put the, I have 2 more per key LEDs in this tape piece, and I can't get the light correctly on this. I have 2 more, and I'm just going to put them back in the bag. And we'll do those some other day. Extremely small and yes, very difficult. I could imagine. No thank you. I would not want to do that. Probably going to swap the Hakuto KSGER12, but you don't know if you can flash the firmware on it yet. Well, that would be an important thing to find out, right? If you can't flash the firmware, then you're kind of stuck. Okay, so these are slightly bigger, 5 by 5 millimeters, and this is the bottom of it. I can't get it to focus, but maybe in the light, catch the light and you can kind of see that there are 4, oh, I dropped it. There are 4 like metal contacts, 1 on each corner. Maybe through the magnifying glass it'd be easier. If I move it around enough, you'll probably get the point. So that's the bottom side, and this is the top where the light comes out. Like a little circle, and inside there are the LEDs. Okay, so let's keep the magnifying glass so you can see it and I can see it at the same time, all right? So one of these corners is notched, so it's that one. And it has to match right there where I have it marked on the silk screen. Again, if I rotate this by accident, it probably wouldn't be that bad, it just wouldn't light up. And no light feels bad, man. Okay. Here we go. Turn this slightly, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to apply. That's too much pad. Okay, adjust very so slightly. Okay, so that's good. Heat the pad without accidentally touching anything else, and just apply some solder there. Oh, it moved. I don't want that to move. Let's try again. It moved again. And where is my solder ending up? It's just sticking to itself. Okay. cut it off with the tip. Oh, see, I accidentally like hit the LED with the end of the solder. You have to have patience when you're doing this stuff. You accidentally touch things and they move, and yeah. I'm just lightly tapping it to line it up. Okay, try again. It moved. I moved it. That's okay. Solder is like not flowing off of the solder. It's not flowing onto the soldering tip. So I'm going to clean the soldering tip again. Okay. Okay. Be patient. Patience, Ramu. The other three, like, I got through really fast. How come this one's such a big problem? It's not sticking. Ah. Failure. Solder is on the end of the soldering iron though, so maybe I could just tap it. There we go. That worked. Do I still have some on the tip? Maybe. I can deposit some here. Actually, that wasn't too bad. Let's deposit a little bit more. Okay, I don't know if it's actually, I need to actually be making contact for sure. Okay, I think that is. All right. Okay, delicate work for sure. But I can't be watching chat while I'm doing it. Duh. Give me my solder back. There we go. Perfect. Turning it around. Okay, last corner. Heat and metal that melts. And it's not flowing onto the pad for some reason. I guess the pad is not hot enough when I'm doing this. Duh. Actually, I got some solder on the tip of this soldering iron. It's too much solder though. Yeah. You might be asking why this is like a cruddy wooden desk. Well, important reason. I can burn the edges of it. I can cut into it with a knife. It's okay because it's a cheap, messed up desk. It's a perfect kind of desk for doing this kind of work. You never want to do this kind of like work with soldering and X-Acto knives and all that on a good desk or table. Pick a really cruddy one with all sorts of nicks in it and stuff. Okay, what did I miss in chat? Nothing. Great. So we got that one. Let's move on to this one up here. I don't have anything public Git right now. Right now the project is